Now, as Nigeria marks Democracy Day and 26 years of unbroken civilian rule, what does democracy look like in this country in 2025 as various parts of this nation of many nations try to stand up for their democratic rights and to share in the democratic ideals of June 12th, the anniversary of Nigeria's freest and fairest election, a ballot that was inexplicably annulled by the military government in 1993. Well, as you know, Chief Moshood Abiola won that election and should have been the president of this country. And for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by one of Chief Abiola's sons, who's also Kudirat Abiola's son, Jamiu Abiola, who is currently a senior special assistant in the office of President Tinubu, and also by the former Director General of Nigerian National Radio, FRCN, Dr. Ladan Salihu, who is a chieftain of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, but who, you may not know, was also a close confidant of the late Chief Abiola. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
We're happy to be
Good
here.
to see you.
Lovely to see you again. And let me start with you, Jamiu, because of course Democracy Day will always have your father and your mother, Chief Moshood Abiola and Kudirat Abiola, front and center of the commemorations. What goes through your mind on a day like this?
Well, it's always shocking because, I mean, I know my mom, you know, she's very simple, introvert, and she does her business, but she still comes back home, and she's always in the same spot in the sitting room. So I'm wondering that how did she become this person that everybody's talking about? It's just like how I felt the first time I went to New York, and when I went to the street that was named after her in New York, on 44th Street, you know, and I said, wow, this is the same woman that was born in Zaria, and now look at the street in New York named after her. So it is really surprising me. Even today, you know, she's been honored again, and I'm happy that at least, you know, I mean, as they say, good things come to those who wait. So we've waited for so long, and we're getting, you know, the honors, and we're feeling more and more that her sacrifice has been justified to a certain extent. Of course, we all know we're going to die someday, but the way she died was very, very brutal. But as brutal as it was, these honors are becoming like a kind of like, it's like an opposite direction, trying to give us relief from so much sorrow. You know, it's like moving, you know, the opposite direction. So I thank God for, you know, being alive to witness what is happening. And I thank God that Nigerians have actually come to terms with the fact that these are the heroes of democracy, and like they have to be honored. And, you know, I pray that, you know, other governments will carry on with this tradition, because it is when heroes are honored that other people feel the need and the urge to become heroes as well.
Absolutely. And of course, your mum, as you mentioned there, fought back against a repressive system fiercely. She was jailed, and you communicated with her immediately after she emerged from jail. I mean, how did all that unfold for you? You were just a teenager, weren't you?
I was a teenager, and like I never even knew she was jailed. I was just, you know, bought the New York Times, because then I was living in New York. This was around 1995, 96, and I just bought the New York Times, and I was like, okay, let me see what's happening in the New York Times. And I was reading, I just saw her picture. I'm like, what is she doing in the New York Times? And I now saw that if she is found guilty, she will be jailed for 7 years. I was like, found guilty of what? And they now said that she gave some people some instructions to post posters around Lagos that they should go against the government and all of that. So I placed a call to her, and then she was already back at home. And she said, how did I find out? You know, the problem she had with that
You're
was,
like, I'm
how
afraid
did
it's
I
an
find
open
out?
secret.
You know,
It's
I mean,
in the
and
New
like
York
in
Times.
New York Times, you know, and I was like telling her that, forget about how I found out. Is it true? And she kept saying, how did I find out? Then she now says, like, I'm not a child. You don't talk to me like the way you talk to me. You talk to me like you're my parent, you know. We started arguing. And it was shortly after that, a couple of days after that, that she finally got killed. But, you know, I mean, I always thank God, because I know that everybody's going to die. Some people, they just wake up and I want to go to work, and they get killed on the way. And nobody even knows these people. So at least, you know, she got killed, and people are still recognizing her years and years afterwards. And I know she's in heaven, because I believe in heaven.
Amen.
If I didn't believe in heaven, then it would have been a problem for me. So I thank God that she died, and the way she died, doing good, unlike the other people that killed her, and they were doing God knows what. And I'm just happy that she had the last laugh. And that's what I can say about that.
Well, I think a lot of people in this country are with you on that. Let me come to you, Dr. Salihu, because many people don't know how close a relationship you actually had with Chief Moshood Abiola. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. First of all, I'd like to renew my commiserations and sympathies and, you know, to the Moshood Abiola family through you.
Thank you.
Sitting, you know, very close to me. I believe that history will continue to celebrate, will continue to not only celebrate, but will continue to live with the values of democracy, of philanthropy and kindness and deep stakeholding that cuts across all spheres of our own life as a people. Chief MKO Abiola was the quintessential Democrat. He believed in democracy, he lived it. He paid the supreme price so that this democracy will continue to flourish. Hajia Kudirat, you know, followed his footsteps. She was, to me, more than an Amazon. She was, she led the marker. She provided, you know, that inspiration for fearlessness in politics, for believing in truth, and for standing by what she believed and saw, and we all believed and saw, as the best thing for her country, for her husband, for her family, and for everybody that believed in democracy. Now, Chief MKO Abiola, he was a rare breed of a personality. And I can spend the whole day pontificating and giving you examples of our relationship, but I'll just zero in on two.
Yeah, briefly.
When my mom passed on, he had sent me on an errand to the north. Then, of course, there wasn't the digital phone, only the 090 and what have you. And so he got to Kano.
The big.
Yeah. So he got to Kano, and the news, you know, reached him that my mom had died. He drove from Kano to Jigawa, to Bauchi, to my family home to pay his condolence. Even when I had left Bauchi, he did not only saw my dad, no, he went to the family of my mom. Now, at a very personal level, he has left that imprint on me forever. Then, on the day he was to have his debate with Bashir Tofa, we drove in the vehicle of Reverend Father Moses Adasu, who was the governor of Benue State. He left his limousine and entered the 504, you know, Series 2000, whatever it was called. I was in front. Basharun was seated behind where the governor used to sit. The governor by his left. We drove through the third mainland bridge, and they had a conversation. We had a conversation, and he said, the governor of Benue State said, look, there are signs that we are winning this election, but there are fears that they may not give us. Then Basharun said to him, then there will be trouble in the land. He said, if I lose this election as a Democrat, I'll go home. If I win and they deny us, this country will see no peace for a long time. We drove through Adeniji Adele, came to pray at the Lagos Central Mosque, went to the Enugu liaison office. Then I think Governor Eziefe was the governor. Myself and Usman Mukhtari of blessed memory prepared MKO Abiola for the debate. At about 7:30, we got into NTA, and you know, the rest is history. The sum total of it, Charles, is that in this great man we had a personality who meant well for Nigeria, who stood up for what he believed was good for his people, his country, who won landslide. I wonder if we will ever have an election that will be, you know, like the one MKO Abiola won.
Right.
Across the national canvas. Hausa, Yoruba,
Indeed.
Igbo, Fulani, everybody.
Yeah.
And so
Pan-Nigerian.
Pan-Nigerian.
Yeah.
And so his memories, like I said, I can go on and
Yes.
on forever.
Well, thank you for that.
You know.
That was a very important thing, this story that you had to tell us there. And Jamiu, how does it make you feel when you hear? Because I mean, as you said, your mother was just your mother. I mean, you know what I mean? And now you're hearing about your father. I mean, somebody said that your father is the kind of person who didn't step out of a car, he emerged from a car. I mean, how does all that make you feel when you hear it?
Well, I'm not actually surprised because, you know, there was one time I was in the United States and there was a political event and I met a man from Ethiopia and I was introduced to him by a diplomat and the man told me that, are you sure? And I said, he kept asking me if I'm sure I'm the son of MKO. And I kept saying yes. And then I said, why you keep asking me this question? He said, I met your dad once and I just told him about the war in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has problems and this and that. He said, he gave me $500,000. So I was thinking that maybe he's crazy, you know. So when he saw me, he was like, that because he felt like, he said he never saw him again. And I said he just, that day, he told him to go to like Chemical Bank, which is now Chase Manhattan Bank, and he got the money. So he was like, are you sure? So you know, so I'm really surprised, you know. So I'm actually used to it. Even the other day I went to a language conference in Miami, and the driver that was taking me from the airport to the, is a Nigerian, and I was like, so how do you did you get to the United States? And he was like, he used to work in the airport and he wanted to become a pilot and he kept dreaming about it. The one day he saw when Chief Abiola came, he doesn't know who I am. And the Chief Abiola was like, he told him that like,
so I want to fly.
No. He said, I want to be like, I want to be a pilot. And the guy was like, you really want to be a pilot? He said, yeah, but I can't afford it. He said, this man got him a visa, he did this, he did that. And he's now a pilot, and because he's retired, he's been a pilot for 20 years, he's retired in Florida, so he now drives a cab. So when he got to the hotel, I just bought my passport and I showed it to him. The man started crying. And he kept me there for an hour, and I wish I didn't even tell him where I was. You know? So, you know, this is the kind of things we hear about.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Well, I have to say that I myself personally am not left out of this because I met your father several times. I was a BBC correspondent in Nigeria. I covered those elections as well as the annulment, IBB's stepping aside, General Abacha's ascendancy. You know, and those were very dark days indeed. But the point was that your father had become not just a national figure, but a looming international figure. I mean, there was nowhere across this planet that he wasn't being talked about. So in that sense, I'm afraid you're going to be in the spotlight. There's no getting away from it.
And I was really happy that, you know, but when the democracy finally came and they were not giving him the credit and people were like insinuating all sorts of things, that was what actually pushed me to write the book about him.
Yes, tell us about that book, you know, and the title of the book. And
yes, I wrote the book, The President Who Never Ruled, in Arabic first, because I wanted to, like, you know, do something interesting.
Yes.
I did not just write a book, but write in Arabic. And I now wrote in English. So then I wrote the part 2 of the book, which is called The Stolen Presidency. And they're both in Amazon. And the book is about his childhood, how he grew up in poverty, and how he was able to become, you know, whoever he became, the chairman of ITT, and how he excelled in school. So the book is about his autobiography.
The full title of the book?
It's called The President Who Never Ruled. I wrote the book.
I will have to get a copy.
Yes,
of
it's a non-fiction book. It's a real life story, but I wrote it as a fiction. I wrote it as a book with like a novel so that people can have fun. I didn't want a history book that would seem boring to a lot of people. So it's like a novel.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Yeah,
so
that's good. That makes it much more interesting.
Thank you.
So, I mean, Dr. Salihu, after 26 years of unbroken democracy, are we walking on the edge of a razor blade? I mean, as the current state of Nigeria's democracy unfolds before your eyes, are you pessimistic or optimistic, given where we've come from, June 12th, and the fact that you saw that June 12th up close and personal? I mean, you were right next to Chief Abiola as it was unfolding.
Yes, well, it is a checkered history, a parabola of a kind of history of our own political culture, ups and downs, and you know, struggles, travails, and triumphs. And now, literally, I'm not pessimistic, but we are literally on a cliffhanger. The nation is politically charged. The atmosphere is not so encouraging. You know, a lot of you know, infighting, a lot of you know, negatives and positives juxtaposed. You know, you can't close your eyes and say, okay, this is how the outcome is going to be. We've not done badly in politics as a nation, but as politicians, we have, in my own opinion, failed to live up to expectations. We can do better. I am disappointed that the Nigeria that I saw as a reporter, and then up close and personal with the principles and practices of you know, MKO Abiola, and his dream of a greater Nigeria is not necessarily what I am seeing today. I am hopeful, though, that this nation has survived a civil war, has survived, you know, the triumphs and the trials and the tribulations of military rule.
But the challenge is not just survival, it's about thriving.
It's about thriving.
Yeah,
now,
beyond survival.
Now it is now left for politicians across the board to look at the green, white, green, and look at the national crest, and for once pull back and wear these as badges of honor.
Right. Okay.
And try the best we can to rescue the country, the nation, in whichever way we can. Because right now the signals are not so encouraging.
Okay. Let me come to you, Jamiu, because you are, of course, in the government. I mean, you're a senior special assistant in the president's office, so you're right in the heart of the matter. But I'm not going to put you on the spot, because it's not really fair to do that to you on a day like this, where we're all celebrating your father. So let me frame it this way. 26 years later, after Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999, and more than 30 years after June 12, 1993, how concerned are you that democracy in this country remains extremely fragile?
You know, democracy is a contract with the people. And for democracy to flourish, people have to have a better life. But the problem with democracy is that it's government by government. And the problem with democracy is that when you inherit a government, you don't only inherit the plus, you also inherit the minus. But the good thing is that, putting the sentiments aside, this government, when it came, and we know what the international credit rating was, Moody's, Fitch, all of that, now they've been upgraded. This is a fact. It's not like I'm saying it. They said it, and they never lie because they have no reason to lie. Then apart from that, a government is always, the first indication is fiscal deficit dropped from 5.4% to 3%. As in, like, government is actually, you know, cutting down its expenses. This is a fact. Forget about what people say or what people say they feel. This is what is there. It's in the books. Then we now look at, you know,
but you know that democracy is about the people.
It's about the people,
so,
I know.
So it's not so much about what the figures say.
No, the figures.
It's about how those figures touch them.
You know, the problem is this. It's like, now, you're a married man, you're working hard, you work hard, you try hard for your family. If, for example, some people in your household, like your son is angry with you because you did not take him to an Ivy League school, and you're like, look, I can only afford to take you to this school, and it's still a good education, and he wants to say you're not a good dad, he's going to say you're not a good dad. People will always, so that's why we always want to, as we're looking at what they're saying, we also look at the facts. We look at the facts. What makes the government prosper? In Nigeria, the biggest problem is corruption. Corruption is actually what is eating into the country and making it difficult for governments to do well. 2024, EFCC, you know, highest number of convictions, 4,111. It's never been like that before. That's the EFCC. we look at the things that the government has been able to achieve in terms of like, you know, the vision, because you know, it's only a vision that the country can, the vision is like an investment. We look at like development, you know, commissions, the Southwest, South, all these development commissions, when these things take life and they become really, really functional, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to have a wonderful effect, you know, but these are not things that can just open overnight. The Ministry of Livestock, the government is targeting food security. The government is trying, like now, this new tax regime, where government wants to actually, you know, be more self-sufficient, so that we can actually, you know, do things for the people without always saying that, oh, because of what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Gaza is affecting government, you know, revenue. We're going to create our own revenue. So this government actually has a lot of plans that will actually come into effect. Possibly before the end of this year, people will start feeling the effects. It's very, very difficult for things to trickle down. We're talking about a country with like more than 200 million people. And again, the last thing I want to say is that this is not Nigeria. This is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the revenue of the country is not just the federal government. We have the state governments and we have the local governments. And the local governments, you know, the money is actually indirectly controlled by the state government. That's why the federal government is trying to do it in a way that the local governments will have the monies directly. And you know, the president has been trying towards that. All of these things have to take shape before people can actually feel the effect. So I know a lot of people are in pain, but I'm happy that at least we have a president that is actually doing some concrete things to actually bring relief.
Right.
And it's going to work out.
Well, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, you're not putting
but
on the
I'm
spot.
glad
I'm very
you put
happy.
yourself on the spot.
I'm very happy you asked. No, because you have to ask. You know, government has to be accountable.
Yeah,
and like, and
absolutely.
the only reason why I can actually answer these questions is because I know that what I'm saying is not lies, and you can verify them yourself.
Right. Okay. Let me then, given that you have leapt into the fray with both feet, let me then ask you to do the same, wearing your hat as an opposition politician. How would you assess the current situation in Nigeria, the political and economic environment?
First of all, let me...
After 26 years of democracy.
After 26 years, I want to say that from the perspective of a, you know, professional
and
media
never mind
person,
the fact that he's sitting next to you and
professional
literally
media
looking
person.
deep into your eyes.
Professional media person,
Looking at him
and now a part-time
Okay, he's not looking at
politician.
you anymore, so you can let go.
I will proceed my own comments and probably even tone down, you know, the adjectives that I would have ordinarily used to qualify my own feelings.
Understood.
Albeit, all for the sake of his dad and, you know, his late mother.
Reverence.
And for the day that we are celebrating.
Absolutely. Reverence.
But to me, politics over the years, 26 years to this moment, has failed the nation. And there is no better example of this failure, you know, in Nigeria than the current dispensation. Wow. We have deficit in security. We have deficit in the economy, hunger, starvation. We have deficit in the areas of education, the out-of-school children. The numbers are growing, not in tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands, no, in millions. We have deficit all over. When you look around, people are in a state of deprivation and starvation and hunger, and people are angry. I don't want to romanticize, you know, a sit-in government because of this day. No, I wouldn't forget, Nigerians wouldn't forget. What we expect to see from the government is to devote more time to the issues that are germane to the survival and integrity of Nigeria. The issue of, you know, health, education, agriculture, insecurity. Numbers are good, but numbers are good only to the extent that they bring succor and solace to the people. If I am being told about numbers, these numbers they must translate into tangible deliverables of, what do you call it, democratic dividends. Right now, people are groaning, are suffering. You need to go to, several parts of the north where I can speak, the situation that we had when Buhari came in and left was bad. The situation that we are now experiencing when Buhari left to this moment in the north are terribly, nauseating to the people. And so we want to see, nobody, as a person, as a Nigerian, when it comes to issue of governance, I want to see a government succeed.
Right. Okay.
All right? I am not particularly given to the rhetorics of condemning a government for the sake of it. I want this administration to succeed in giving Nigerians the dividends of democracy.
Okay, but you're not seeing
that. I'm not seeing
that. Let me come to you. We've literally got 2 minutes before we have to end the chat. What I'd like to ask you, and you can say what you need to say now and then answer it. How do you think your parents, particularly your father, who had a vision for this country, would assess Nigeria today? Okay,
now in answering to them, he mentioned some points. He mentioned, for example, education, there's a deficit. Well, 600,000 people have benefited from the government student loan scheme. They mentioned the issue of poverty. 5.7 million Nigerian households have benefited from the transfer scheme that the government is doing. He also meant there are another 900,000 people have benefited. He mentioned agriculture. Nigerian government has actually been very, very involved in tackling security with 13,000 people killed, terrorists, and 7,000 arrested. Then also they've been distributing tractors and fertilizers, and they've been really involved in mechanization, which is to answer all these things he's been talking about. Now, my father would have not been happy about what other governments have done before this government. And I actually mentioned that this is the Federal Republic of Nigeria because of the fact that subsidy was removed. The first year, 2023, we saved $10 billion, and that translated to 60% increase in what state governments actually received. So a lot of these things he's talking about, a lot of the blame he's talking about should be placed in the doorsteps of the state governors.
Well, let's remember and not forget that today is Democracy Day, and we are in debt to your father and to the family, and for the sacrifices your family made on behalf of this country. So I want to thank you very much indeed. But of course, your father would also be as equally almost brutal in his assessment, because that's the kind of person he was, in looking at this country and making an honest assessment. So I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in. Alhaji Jamiu Abiola is the Shatima Rashid of Borno. He's a senior special assistant to the president on linguistics and foreign matters. And of course, Dr. Ladan Salihu is the former Director General of Nigeria National Radio, FRCN, a chieftain of the main opposition People's Democratic Party. And Abiola, of course, is the son of Chief Moshood Abiola. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Great to see you guys. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.